happy to be here at the headquarters of Dalbello, USA, where we're going to be talking about some of the history of Dalbello and some of the highlights of the 22-23 Dalbello lineup. Joining me, Geoff Curtis and Chris McKenna. So let's start by having you two talk a bit about your relationship to Dalbello.
Thanks, Jonathan. Well, as you said, my name is Geoff Curtis. I've been with Dalbello ever since it's been in the MDV portfolio, which started in 2015, and I've been with the other two brands in our portfolio for even longer than that. So it's I started out as a ski racer and grew up skiing avidly right from here in New Hampshire. Ski raced at the university level, and after that spent 2 years ski bumming in Vail, Colorado, which was a lot of fun. Got to make a lot of turns and got to rediscover my passion for skiing. I mean, certainly at times being an athlete in the ski world can be a job as much as a passion, and so really re-engaged with the sport and wanted to be a part of it permanently, and I was able to get a job with the Technica and Vocal brands in 1994, and so I've been at it ever since, and it's been a great ride and a lot of fun, and you know, I've been able to hopefully offer a lot back to the industry.
Chris, tell us your story.
I'm Chris McKenna. I'm the product manager for Dalbello here in the US. So I work closely with our international product team and European team. Bit of background similar to Geoff, grew up ski racing, skied through college, and then started with Dalbello in 2017, so right after graduating school. First couple of years was out living in Park City, covering Intermountain, so got some powder skiing in for a couple of years, and then the last 2 years have been back in the office here in Lebanon.
Excellent, excellent. By the way, one other thing Geoff has done for the ski industry is you gave me a tour of Dartmouth's campus yesterday, so thank you, my first time on campus, excellent tour guide. So you can add that to the many hats you've worn, you know, throughout your illustrious career.
Yeah, well, it was good to have you here, and it was a nice visit, and yeah, I mean, Dartmouth has a beautiful campus, and it's one of the sort of key features of the area here around where our office is located.
I think it would be great to talk a bit about the history of Dalbello. Lots of things one could say here, so very curious to hear how you would sort of talk about this history.
The Dalbello family name was first put on ski boots in 1974, but the Dalbello family had been making parts for ski boots and actual ski boots for other brands, including, some people may remember, a brand called Henke that was based in Switzerland. Most of their business partners were in Switzerland making some OEM stuff during the years before 1974, and even after they started with the own family brand name, they continued to make OEM stuff for other brands after that. But that was when the first Dalbello branded ski boots came out, and one of the things that they did over the years really well was try to be innovative, try to find new ways to make the sport better, and one of the core technologies that Dalbello introduced was this three-piece boot design called Cabrio. And when the Dalbello brand first came into our portfolio in 2015, that was really essentially the thing that Dalbello was known for at the time. Free ride, freestyle boots. And actually at that very time, the uphill products started to really gain some traction in the marketplace. And the three-piece design was very well suited to making the uphill products work really well. So that was, when we started with Dalbello, that was really the big thing for the brand. The marketing for Dalbello, the brand recognition needed help, I think, and that's one of the things that I think we're pretty proud to have been able to do over the last 6 or 7 years, is increase the profile of the brand, I think a lot of people would have been surprised in 2015 to hear that Dalbello was going to have a world championship on a slalom race in 2021. So these things are pretty important. We're very proud to have pushed the brand along in that way. And I think at the same time, we've been able to maintain those core competencies and those things that Dalbello is really known for being good at.
I think that's like the perfect segue for where we're gonna go, talking about being able to push some things forward and maintain a kind of consistency and, not completely departing from some of the what and where the brand has been. And so let's, I think, just jump into some of the highlights that you want to talk about, whichever of those tracks you want to go with.
Yeah.
What's really unique about Dalbello is the full overlap and Cabrio connection. But before we get further in the conversation, just clarifying difference between overlap and Cabrio boots. So your traditional overlap boot is a two-piece boot with your lower shell, upper cuff, and then the shell and cuff are fixed or connected here in the spine of the boot. And then your Cabrio three-piece boot it's the lower shell, upper cuff, and then also a tongue for the third piece there. And it's not fixed in the back, so most of your flex is coming out of the tongue of the boot there. So those are the basic design differences, and then there's definitely some difference in performance and feel. So in an overlap boot, it's going to be a little more precise feeling, a little shorter range of flex, and normally more powerful. So thinking of somebody likes to ski in a traditional way of driving the front of the boot, getting over the front of the ski. And then with your three-piece or Cabrio boot, it's going to be a bit more of a progressive flex, longer flex or bigger range of motion. Going to be a more upright boot, so for that skier that likes to stand a bit more upright and just lean the ski over. Also, another really important part of the Cabrio boot is just the impact absorption. So for freeride skiing through windblown snow or crud or bumps, really great at just absorbing those hits. And then that same concept transfers over for freestyle boots. So skiing the pipe or park with big landings and big impacts, just being able to absorb that, but also have stiffness and be a high performance boot at the same time.
I mean, it feels a little bit like this is almost an age-old question, right? Who should be thinking about or exploring a Cabrio-style boot versus an overlap or four-buckle boot, as they're sometimes called? I think that was a pretty good kind of breakdown. But Geoff, anything to add to that? I mean, do you think there really is value to like some of these like generalizations, or are you more on the side of like people just need to get in both types of boots and see how they're feeling, how do they like that connection to the snow, to the ski, et cetera?
I think if we look at the basic design parameters, I think you're going to have a quicker turning, snappier, higher power transmission coming from an overlap boot in general, whereas you're going to have a smoother, sort of more progressive flex in the Cabrio boot. And if to generalize, I mean, for free riding and for certainly for touring, when we get into the boots that have the uphill capability, the fact that we don't have to do anything to the lower shell to kind of break down that power, and are also able to offer something that has a huge range of motion and still maintaining that lateral stability. I mean, there are some pretty clear advantages to different types of skiing or areas of the sport, I think, between the two designs. That's not to say that we don't have some park and pipe riders who ride in overlap boots, but I think it's safe to say that we don't have any racers that ski in the Cabrio boots. So it's there is a fairly clear distinction, but it's not by no means ironclad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other important attribute of a Cabrio boot is just going to be ease of entry and warmth. So just some nice user-friendly attributes. So with that tongue, getting into the boot, all you have to do is just pull that forward and you're able to slide right in. You don't have to pull the boot apart, worry about catching the plastic of the shell while you're sliding your foot in. So on our Krypton, our Pantera boots, once you pull that tongue forward out of place and you have a wrap liner, you can just step your foot right in without even having your hands on the boot. So super easy to get in and out of. And then also the Cabrio shell design combined with a wrap liner here is really warm. So if warmth, ease of entry are high on your priority list, then Cabrio boots, really nice option.
Yeah, that's important to mention the Pantera. I think oftentimes we get focused on what are the sort of the vector products within our collection.
Yeah.
The Pantera with its adjustable 102 to 100 last, which is generated by the buckle over the instep, is how that last is sort of brought in and out. But when you look at the Pantera and how easy it is to get on and off, if you've got somebody with a wider foot and a fairly relaxed skiing style, it's going to be a great boot for them to look at. And so there's, of course, the other element within any boot collection is the different fit profiles that the boot company offers, and in which configurations. So we have really wide boots in our overlap collection. We have wider boots in our Cabrio collection. So with fit being really the main concern with ski boots, it's kind of job one.
Yeah.
Within our line, we have all of the fit profiles within each type of boot, which really is a versatility that the line offers.
I want to stay on the warmth part of this. The ease of entry of a Cabrio, yes, I think that's kind of well understood, and especially if we start moving into, tight-fitting performance-style boots. But on the warmth front, could you say a little bit more about that? Subtle or significant, and then maybe just detail a little bit like why a Cabrio style might be warmer?
Yeah, a couple different components there. With the ID or our wrap liners, you're gonna have less seams or stitching seams in the liner, so less areas for your heat from your foot to get out. Also, the design of a Cabrio boot, we have the middle buckle here, so for Dalbello, it's a Dina-Link buckle, and it's connected to the shell, not the cuff here. So when you flex forward with the shell, buckle stays in place, so really giving you a great ankle hold and locking your foot in place. Benefit of that is allows you to have a nice roomy toe box and forefoot area, so plenty of space in the boot for your foot to stay warm without the negative impact of your foot moving around or anything like that.
Yeah.
So a bit of combination of fit and then construction of the boot and liner materials.
Yeah, and when you say ID liner, ID stands for Intuition Dalbello. That's that really, really sort of high-end Ultralon foam that's got some really great insulation properties. It's got great custom fitting properties. And when you have a liner that's molded to your foot, that in and of itself should give you a little better circulation and should keep you warmer.
I do like the argument too, and I think we might be able to call this a bit of a trend in ski boot design where toe boxes are getting like longer, wider, right? I think for some of the reasons you're talking about, like I think the running shoe world has maybe shown us this, right? If you get the fit right around the midfoot and the heel, dial those in, and then we don't need to make torture devices up in the toe box.
That's been a staple of the Cabrio design, and then we get into our new overlap collection. That's definitely been a focus there. But yeah, I think right now you're seeing that, as you said, throughout the running shoe industry and moving into the ski boots.
Yeah, let's talk about some more products over here.
So by far our most exciting and biggest update for next year is our brand new overlap collection here. So brand new Veloce line for both men and women. So for men, 24.5 through 30.5. And then we have full women's line as well from 22.5 to 27.5. And in that is a range of flexes. So men, you have 90, 100, 120, and the 130 here. And then on the women's, you have 105, 95, 85, and 75 as well. So full size run, full range of flexes. For year one, it's just going to be the mid-volume, so 100 millimeter last, both men and women. So really excited of having a new boot in this premier category of 100 millimeter last, overlap, high performance boots. Focus on this boot collection when we were coming up with it. So before we had our DS series in this line, so Veloce is brand new. Everything about the boot is new. Obviously performance of focus, so that's just a benchmark you have to have in this category. But for us, improving on what we had before, the fit and initial feeling was super important. So that goes with our conversation before of having wider forefoot, plenty of room in the toe box for your foot to fit, lay flat in the boot and move around and perform how it's supposed to with inside the ski boot. And then having really nice ankle hold and proper fit over the instep to lock your foot in place and not have it moving in any areas you don't want it to move. And then in terms of initial fit or fit system, in the past, Dalbello's had Contour 4, so 4 critical areas where there's a little added room out of the mold. And Veloce, we're moving into a Contour 5 system. So on the shell, we still have the 4 critical areas, now also highlighted by a nice texture there. So calling it out, making it easier to work on in those areas. So we have 6th toe, inner forefoot, and then inner and outer ankle areas. And then the 5th and new component of Contour 5 is going to be on the liner. So you'll see here the same texturing we had on the boot, on the liner as well. So giving you a really nice ankle pocket and matching up perfectly with the shell in that area. And then also allowing the ankle pocket to mold specifically to your foot too. Another new part of the fit here is our auto fit tongue. So first component on that is just going to be the plastic cuff here in the front. Compared to our old tongue in the DS line, it's much thinner on the sides, so just allowing it to shape around different leg shapes, or lower leg shapes really nicely, but still thick in the middle so you have that flex and performance component to it. And then second aspect of the auto fit tongue is on the inside here, the black part that you can see is memory foam padding. So just allowing that to right away fit to your lower leg, keep the tongue in the proper position on your shin. And that also is nice when you're skiing. It doesn't sacrifice any performance or flex, but is nice padding when you're going through skied off on a groomer and skied off snow. So just kind of going through bumps, or if you're off piste and crud or bumps, just kind of absorbing those initial harsh impacts. So really focused on the fit there. In terms of construction of the boot, lower shell is going to be bi-injection. So full PU shell and cuff, but stiffer lower shell just for that power transfer and drive. A little softer upper half of the shell, as we talked about in Cabrio, of ease of entry being super important in ski boots. Also a focus for us in the overlap connection. So a little softer, easier to get in and out of, and also giving the boot the appropriate flex for this category. And then just full PU cuff here as well.
And every boot in that new collection comes with a grip walk sole. So you're getting that right out of the box.
Can we say a little bit more about grip walk? We might as well do the binding compatibility thing.
Yeah, and I think that the binding compatibility, I think, has become a given now. It's not something that the consumer needs to worry about at all. If you can get, if you were to need them, you could get Alpine soles to put on that boot if you had a really old setup that you wanted to use your new boots with. I mean, the main point is offering that comfort and ease of walking and better traction, whether you're walking from your car to the lift or whether you're walking around the resort. It's a really nice feature that comes on all of the new Veloce boots.
Last year, grip walk was approved as its own ISO standard. So now all our boots are coming stamped grip walk ISO 23223. So making it much easier for the industry, being on now hopefully more or less 2 standards when it comes to Alpine boots of just grip walk and Alpine.
Yeah. It's been an interesting time in our little industry, and while there's so much strife in the world, maybe we can look at this as a positive of everyone's coming a bit more together, and we're
all offering that one standard now. Yeah.
What else should we talk about here?
top of the line in terms of flex performance in our Cabrio collections, the Krypton 130 Ti here. So brand new boot for 21, 22, carryover for 22, 23. So 98 millimeter last, so true low volume boot with a 130 flex. What's unique about the Krypton and what was new for last year was the addition of tech inserts. So now you're seeing it in a couple other models in the market, but really nice feature there. So you have a boot with zero sacrifice in terms of downfill performance. It's still your traditional Krypton, a full PU, full wrap ID liner. So no modifications for hiking, just adding that tech insert. So targeting a couple different groups of people. So if you're just skiing in the backcountry but charging really hard and you want that full downhill performance, great option. Or if it's a crossover boot and you're skiing it every day in the resort, but maybe going out a gate, doing some side country, great option there. Or if you're just thinking of getting into touring, this gives you a boot that you can buy, doesn't impact your resort skiing, but has tech inserts. So you think in the future you're gonna buy a Duke or get a pin binding, this is a great option. You're not limiting yourself there. And was developed with our athletes, our free ride team, so Coulter Hinchcliffe, Marcus Ader, giving them a boot that they wanted, that they could use a Duke, use a pin binding, but had no sacrifices in performance. So kind of fine tuning that crossover free ride category.
I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but let's say among Dalbello athletes, are people walking uphill in that boot buckled up or like wide open, or have you guys identified, or they have identified a kind of sweet spot way to sort of do, right? Because like sometimes if you open everything up, things can get pretty sloppy and too much movement and blistering on the heels. Any advice for somebody who likes the sound of what you described for like pro tip, here's what we're hearing in terms of feedback to actually walk uphill in a boot that doesn't have a walk mode, right?
There's not a whole lot you can do to the boot here, obviously, to give it that increased range of motion. Obviously, opening up the upper buckles here, so just allowing that tongue to flex forward easier, loosening up the power strap. And then I'd recommend personal preference of loosening up the Dina-Link cable here or buckle. That there's plenty of ankle hold in this boot that you don't really have to worry about pulling up your heel or getting blisters there.
So you do think that could almost go open? You could fully open it?
Yeah, you run into some issues. I found when you fully open them, just buckles banging around or stuff getting in the way, becoming a detriment. But it's the same lower shells on our Lupo boots, where in the uphill mode, you have the ability to take the tongue out.
Yep.
So there, you can still have it buckled, but there's no tongue holding you in place. So you're definitely open to loosen up the buckles there and not have a negative impact.
Yeah, my preference is just to loosen that top buckle and loosen the Dina-Link buckle. And that gives you enough articulation to make a pretty good stride.
So if someone's like, that boot sounds cool, but you know what sounds even cooler to me? If it did have a walk mode. So if we're talking about the Lupo versus the Krypton, where are the differences? What is the same between those two boots?
This year, we actually continued to fine tune the crossover category here as it's growing in popularity and people wanting one setup to do it all, but different people obviously want to make sacrifices in different areas. So we've also added to the Krypton line the new Krypton AXTI, so 100 millimeter last. And on these boots, or the AXTI, we're not listing a flex on it, but it's in about that 120 flex range, so a little softer. So thinking being somebody who wants a little softer boot, willing to have a little more sacrifice and downhill performance, we've actually added a walk mode to that boot. So now in the lower flex Krypton, you're getting tech inserts, a walk mode, but a fixed tongue. So as we were talking about, that transition at the top, super easy. Or if you're also using it as your everyday resort boot and not touring, you have a walk mode and don't have to worry about a removable tongue or stuff getting in the wrong place there. So super user-friendly boot, giving you that option to go uphill. And then as you move into the Lupo, which we've rinsed, here we have the Lupo AX HD, so our PU lower shell option here. The tongue is fully removable, so all you have to do, undo the buckles, flip this lever up, pull the tongue out, and there you then have full range of motion, so 67 degrees range of motion there. And as Geoff was talking about earlier, it really highlights the attributes of Cabrio for a touring boot, because you're able to take the tongue out, have full forward range of motion, but not sacrifice that forward flex of the boot like on an overlap boot where you're softening up that area or making some sacrifice for that forward range of motion. And then without the boot being connected in the spine, you just have the walk road, open it up, and have that full rearward range of motion. So for that person who's hiking a fair amount or really values range of motion going uphill, the Lupo is a better option than the Krypton there. And the Lupo, there's the Lupo Pro HD, so 98 millimeter last PU option, AX HD, and then the 120AX, so a little lighter weight, and then 100W, so women's Lupo, also at 100 millimeter last. Jumping into Quantum, here is our true lightweight touring boot. So we're just talking about crossover boots, work equally well touring or at the resort, and have the power to ski resort bindings all day. Now we move into the Quantum line, it's true dedicated touring boot. So Quantum Freeze, our second generation of Quantum, coming in at 1,250 grams here in the 130. So lightweight, and then we move down to our new Quantum Evo for next year at 1,000 grams. So true lightweight boots there. The unique story about Quantum is its bonded shell technology. So what that means is two halves of the shell are molded independently and then bonded together down the center seam there. What that allows us to do is have a really nicely shaped boot that has a really nicely pre-shaped heel pocket and used lightweight material that's really stiff, where traditionally if you use this type of material, had this fit, pulling it off the plug, it would deform or crack or there'd be some issue. So bonding the shell together is a workaround for that. It allows us just to have that high performance, lightweight boot in this category.
You said typically, or with more traditional manufacturing processes where you're not bringing two sides together and bonding, what materials are we talking about that wouldn't, or a material that's stiff? Can you say what we're talking about here?
Yeah, a couple different options of on the Quantum Free, it's just a polyamide composite. And then you have carbon fiber charged, lower shell, and upper cuff on the Quantum Evo here. So yeah, it's a combination of just lightweight, stiffness, and being super thin material there.
And essentially, when you inject these parts, if the boot is totally wrapped around the mold, like most lower shells are, and it's too stiff, you can't get it off there without breaking the boot. Whereas if you inject it in these two hemispheres, you've got a lot more ability to put different contours into the boot, different shapes where you're trying to create space to have a better fit. And then you can still have, it's the best of both worlds, you can still have all that contour and then bond the boot together and still utilize that super, super stiff material.
So it really is the combination, or correct me if I'm wrong, of thinness and stiffness.
These ultralight constructions, you're utilizing a very stiff plastic to be able to make it light and still have enough stiffness. So yes, it does have to be thin in order to, when you try to put that equation together, it's got to be thin in order to be light.
How different should a potential customer think about the skiability between the 1,000 gram boot and the 1,250 gram boot? Are more similar than different? And it's a matter of it's less about the skiability and more about the weight savings. How are we talking about this?
Combination of things to think about when you're deciding between these two. Obviously, weight, huge component going uphill. Then yeah, your ski performance going downhill, and also just functionality of the boot. So the lighter weight boot also is less going on with it. So you just have one buckle down here and then kind of a combination here of buckle and power strap. And quick release mechanism on the inside here. So getting in and out of the boot, all you have to do is undo that. And the power strap is kind of a set it and forget it feature there. And then that makes it so transitioning from ski mode to walk mode, it's just flipping the walk lever down, locking this in place, and you're going. So much easier and quicker transitions on this boot. With that being said, with only one buckle, the power strap, lighter weight, you do sacrifice a bit of ski performance. So if you're somebody with a true touring ski and full pin binding, so alpinist, or a sub 100 underfoot lightweight touring ski, and uphill is a priority, I'd go here. If you're uphill, obviously is also a priority with this boot, but care a bit more about the downhill, you maybe want a little more drive or ski performance, so you're going with a kingpin, maybe a little wider ski, like a Blaze 106 if you're in the Vocal collection. This is a great combination, so true lightweight boot, but can drive a little more high performing binding and wider ski. That being said, you don't have to be on a wide ski for this. You can ski it with an alpinist and a true lightweight touring ski as well.
I think it's important to mention something that's brand new that Dalbello is doing for 22-23 with our main junior boot collection. So that consists of the Menace, which is the unisex, and then the girls' boot is called the Gaia. And it's essentially a brand new production practice where we're being as circular as possible in the production. So taking waste from the actual production of our main line of boots and regrinding that waste plastic into new pellets that then get re-injected to make our junior boots. So they're 100% recycled within our own factory. None of the plastic ever goes anywhere. It's reground and used to make our junior boots. So that's the most sustainable production practice that we've ever used. It's something that we're super excited about. The same thing in those boots. The liners are all constructed of waste pieces from the other bulk liner production. So that's also coming from within the factory. And then we're doing something unique with the buckles. I mean, aluminum is of course recyclable, but also we're treating them with a lower heat treatment. So to reduce the carbon footprint there of that actual treatment. And it actually produces a pretty cool look on the buckles. But that's something brand new that we're doing that's kind of exciting. The reason we decided to do it in the junior boots is a very, very high volume of junior boots that we make. It's a very popular model within our line. We sell an awful lot of them. And so it's a way to have a large amount of impact within the collection for these two. And each of those boots comes in a 1 buckle, 2 buckle, 3 buckle, and 4 buckle. So if you're looking at junior lease product for your kid to ski on, or you're buying them their own boots, I would recommend taking a look at the Dalbello Menace and Gaia, and they're falling. That whole concept is falling under the name of Reboot. So something cool to look for on our website. There's a lot of information there.
To start to see this kind of circular economy stuff come in, and it will be interesting to see where you guys are able to take that and expand that, and that's exciting. It's cool to see manufacturing within the ski industry doing some of these things that are ideas or concepts that we kind of, some of us know about, or it gets talked about. It's like, wow, we're here, like it's happening now. That's actually quite exciting.
Sustainability is very, very important in our space, for sure, for pretty obvious reasons. So.
This is great. Is there anything else we should touch on before I let you all go?
Yeah, we hit all the key points and I did a full overview of the whole collection there, so.
Excellent. Well, hey, thanks again. Appreciate the rundown, and see you guys later this winter.
Thank you, and thanks to Blister and all your testers and everything you guys are doing.